These sessions were originally set up as roundtables, one. Secondly, this session was originally set up for Kevin, who many of you know. And some of you know me. Kevin and I started droidcon about a decade ago. I will say this because Kevin had a very popular AI tooling discussion yesterday. If you came in for a talk and for a delivered conversation, a delivered talk on that, this is not going to be that. So it's okay. Right now would be absolutely a good time to go. And no judgment, no hurt feelings. Y'all are good. We could deliver that, a version of that talk today. But Kevin is the technical side of the house. I am the product side of the house. So it would not be the talk that you want to hear. The idea behind roundtables is a conversation, a guided conversation among professionals around some topic. In this case, it'll be AI tooling. It'll be let's call it the line between the bullshit and the promise. And what we'll be looking for is to have a fairly inclusive conversation. This was billed as a leadership event. If you're not leadership, that's totally fine. But I will be kind of leaning into the leadership side of things and where all of this goes for our teams. Fair enough? Everybody on board? Last chance. You can get the hell out of here, and I promise I won't even shout you out as you walk out the door. I promise. All right. Cool. So for those of you who know us, you know that Techlead, we are pragmatic folks. We're very excited about the possibilities of technology. You've seen what we've done with Kotlin multi-platform. We're very excited about the possibilities of AI and the tooling and what can be done. But we are pragmatists. We want to know what can be done in production right now, what can be done in production really, really soon, and what can't others do in production that we can do. So this conversation will focus on pragmatism and on what are we doing in production. Fair? We're going to go through two topics, two basic discussions. We'll go through today. What kind of successes are folks having in the room with the tools that are available? I'd like to hear some examples. We'll dive into that. We'll spend about 10, 15 minutes on that. And then we'll dive into really bullshit versus promise. What are we excited about that is coming? And what are some of the promises we've been sold that we cannot see how they would be possible in the next year, that in a useful way to us and to our teams. Fair? All right, so let's start. Let's start with today. Anyone in the room that is having success in production currently, it can be really again, these were booked as roundtables, so I was expecting 12, maybe 20 people. So we'll flow with it. So, but I'm not going to restrict it to any particular tools as I was thinking before. Let's just open it up. Who is having success with their teams with some particular set of AI-enabled tooling?
Sure. So we use...
if you could give your name and the org.
Sure. Where I work?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sure. So my name is Brian. I work at Fundrise. We use AI every day. I know it's kind of like cliche to say now, but whether we're using an agent or chat feature, something helps us get to a PR faster by using AI. And then even if the developer has to go in and fix the last 10, 20% or write tests, it definitely is helping us create code faster.
Okay, so you are using it both to write code and to write testing.
Yes.
What's the tool set? What's the
we
tool
use
mix?
GitHub Copilot mostly, and then Codex as well.
GitHub Copilot and
And Codex.
Codex.
We're really, we use 3, I guess we're testing Gemini as well, but we're really trying all different tool sets and really seeing what works best first before we choose, one to stay with.
Cool. Who else? Right there. The man in the sparkly shirt.
Thanks, Jeff. Walked in a little late, but the question was, what are we using GenAI for in our code?
Yes. So do me a favor. Name
Yep.
of your organization, and then what tool sets are you? What's the tool set? What's what's your use case? What'd you learn?
Great. I'm Aaron Sarazin. I head up the mobile efforts at Trust and Will. It's a pretty new effort, so we've gone from 0 to 60 on our Flutter app on both platforms from April to now, so a little bit under 3 months. Hoping to launch tomorrow, we'll see. Definitely GenAI has been a huge part of it. The core tool set is Cursor with mostly Claude 4 Sonnet, the thinking mode, et cetera, et cetera. I will use it really to, I ask it to draw up a plan document for the larger features. It's kind of an idea I stole from Windsurf, but I liked Cursor better. So and those live in the repo in perpetuity. And then I kind of tweak the plan. I'm like, okay, great. This is I don't like this. Change the API in this way. And then I tell it to go forth. Usually it's like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It'll write its own tests. I set it test coverage targets. And then just kind of, I also have it author its own Cursor rules file, which is kind of the yes, the no, how it's allowed to engage and what must be true. And it's able to get meaningful test coverage up above like 60%, 65, 70%. I just kind of have to babysit it. And if it goes into some tangent or off in the wild, I can be like, what did we learn? I can get it back on track. What did we learn today? Put it in the rules. It's been really instrumental in both the code, the tests, and getting a non-trivial feature set out the door in under 3 months. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
One more? No. Oh, y'all are going to be shy. I promise. I will make it hard to be shy. Go ahead. Yes? Hang on. I'm sorry.
If you want to hear from the same company twice in a row, but it's
sorry,
a different
Michael.
story.
The young woman in front of you. Right in front. Wait, did you raise your hand? Oh, I'm so sorry. All right. Oh, then we'll go to sorry, Michael, just because you guys are same org. Thank you.
Hey.
Name of the organization. What's the tool mix, and what's the use case?
Yeah, so I'm Ville from Supercell, a gaming company. So it's easier for me to say how we operate, so you understand. But basically, we have an AI lab, which main responsibility is to find out of all the tools there are and make them available for all the teams and all the developers and artists and everyone pretty much. And then it's up to developers to, hey, I want to try out Cursor or, Claude Code or Copilot. And basically that means that we are in a piloting phase, but I dare to say that pretty much everyone has tried a tool or multiple tools and are constantly using them. So it's like I cannot name a single one because we are using them all and basically trying to find out which is the best one. And the use cases are all the way from coding to documentation and specifications and everything. Personally, I love how well it helps me writing the annoying parts, not the code pieces, but documentation or specifications and so forth.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Did you say that you have an AI lab which functions kind of like a platform team, but for AI tooling?
Yes, correct.
Okay, very cool. All right, so we're going to dive in on these three, and let's see if we can pull some learnings out of this. Does anyone, I'll ask first before I ask my questions. Anyone have questions based on those use cases that you just heard? because I'm sure at least 1 or 2 of you, 20 of you, are calling bullshit on some of this. Name and organization, please.
My name is Mark Cohen. Work for FanDuel. Questions for Supercell guy. I'm curious how artists are using the GenAI stuff or their AI tooling. I know it's like a hot topic. I'm not looking for a hot topic. I am interested in like how it applies into things like art or the drawing specifically.
I just realized we're going to have to pass this mic back and forth. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not an artist, so don't really know details, but I think mostly for what we are using it is for concepting, like, creating or ideating new ideas, like sketches, and then, come up with ideas that, let's figure out some great new building to heyday. I don't know, artists could try out different styles and see which fit before they then make their own version of that. Or for video generation, like nowadays you can generate fairly plausible videos. So you can, let's say, create short trailers and then see that, hey, this could work fairly nicely, so let's put this into production. So I think those are the use case, though I haven't seen that myself in action, so don't take my word to that. But I'd imagine that's something that we are doing right now with the art side. And maybe one thing to point out, sorry about dragging, but is the copyright things. So those are very, very, we take those very seriously, and that's why with the art we are very careful how we use it, but also with the code. So for example, we are a bit late adopters with many of the AI tools, because generally the data remains somewhere else, and that's unacceptable. So we need the enterprise versions of all the tools before we can adopt them. And I think that's very important point for everyone actually in the room. Like, do you want to share your source code with the, some unknown vendor somewhere for trading purposes?
Okay. So let me push us in a couple of directions. Thank you. All right. One thing that raised my eyebrows, and I don't know, did anyone else get any sort of feelings about this? 60% test code coverage from the AI? Does that nobody? That didn't raise a little weird? Yes. Anybody else? No? Yes. Come on. I will make you all stand up and do exercise if you do not work with me here. I told you could leave. You could still leave. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, I would love to know, has anyone else thought through the idea of using a GenAI tool for increasing test coverage? Is there anyone else that's thinking about that at their team? Hands, hands, hands. Yep. Who hasn't done it? Who has not? Oh, so all of y'all have done it. You have not. Do me a favor. Pass that this way. There we go. We'll get it around the horn. Name, org?
Mark.
Mark.
From Merits.
From
Merits. Is
Yep.
the name of it.
Why not?
We're just early on in our implementation. We just have it's something I would certainly love to do. It's sort of baby steps forward. I mean, our organization is just behind in all of this, and so we're playing catch up. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. For the folks that have, can I get one of you folks to talk about what the decision process there was and how you got there? Yes? Either of you? No? Yeah? Yeah, sure.
You're talking about test coverage, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, we're also just starting this up and stuff, but I've used it to do some unit tests and asked it to do some code coverage, but it's nice because it handles some cases maybe I didn't think about, or the way it writes it. It's a lot of boilerplate, especially for setting up data. It's not perfect, definitely not perfect. But my job becomes prompting it to do the thing, and then code reviewing to make sure it's doing what I want it to do and having the output that I want. And while I keep in the back of my head as I go, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then maybe I come back and like look into that some more. But that's kind of how we're starting to do this.
Okay. Yep.
We're already on Block. Been using AI to generate tests for vibe-coded code because as you add features to vibe-coded code, it's hard to keep track of if it broke anything previously, and so creating tests or having AI create the tests for the code that it's creating allows you to move forward more comfortably. And so that's how I've been using AI to generate tests. I mean, for other things, obviously, but that's like a very kind of a unique perspective.
Does that make sense to everybody? Right? Okay. Awesome. Something that has been brought up now, I think 4 times. Let's call it babysitting the agents. Okay. Talked about it when you're building code. You talked about it just in general. As we have built out at TouchLab, as we have built out this multi-agent process for coding code, internally we absolutely talk about everything we've built as babysitting the models. Aaron, can you talk a little bit about what specifically when you're talking about babysitting, right? Because for the folks that are still in decision process on how do I introduce this to my teams, what does the babysitting entail?
It kind of extends to every corner of what we do, and definitely to the point around like you need your AI to write tests for your AI's code. Like none of the AI usage that I've been able to do would be possible if the test coverage wasn't there, because it breaks so much. It's just like flitting in and out of this state of correctness at all times. So I think what it's really good at is really targeted, really structured input with a confined scope. So I guess sometimes that's a feature, sometimes that's an endpoint, sometimes that's I need you to translate my TypeScript models from the back end over to Dart models on the front end. And a lot of that stuff, it's a short task, you don't have to babysit it as much. The longer running stuff where your context window maybe fills up and starts dropping stuff and it starts getting confused. I asked it to make an end-to-end test that would basically validate every analytics event, by doing headless, actual app testing. And I stupidly said, why don't you just do it all as a single mega test? And I think an hour or 2 in, I'm putting some very colorful language into the prompt. I'm getting really frustrated. And at some point it's yeah, man, this isn't working. I need to go back to simplicity. This test file just doesn't work. I'm going to delete that. And I'm like, whoa, stop. Literally the thing that you just spent 2 hours working on, you just deleted. Let's revert. So the long-running stuff, the poorly formed stuff, if you don't have the strong cursor rules or the rules file that gets loaded in at step 1, those are all places where you're probably going to have a lot of pain. So I often find what I end up doing is I have 3 cursor windows, 3 different directory copies with 3 different branches, and I'm just letting them run and then kind of checking in and kind of tech leading my 3 baby engineers. Which is a weird kind of manager role to be in. So, I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. Pass it this way, please.
I guess a question about that is when you're dealing, you were talking about losing context, obviously, over time. You've got a finite capacity for context. Within your application, when you have the agent writing a test, and when it goes to work in another area, obviously, are you finding you're benefiting from that somehow? It's no longer in context, even though it may have written a test over here, but it doesn't have the awareness or the context to know that what it's writing over here is going to break what it wrote over here? Or maybe it does. If it's a large enough application, maybe not, because it's too much. But
yeah, and I'll just shout it out. It can, and I think that's why the
Okay, hands. For how many of us, first question, how many folks in the room are using AI tooling in production today? Hands. Okay. So then for how many of us was this too in the weeds? Did everybody get did everybody understand that discussion? Sweet. Okay, then we'll keep rolling. As long as everybody's comfortable, we'll keep rolling. There is a real problem of context rot. Because I'm old. See, you can always tell who's old too when they laugh. Because I'm old, this again feels to me like we are just back to memory management. Like we got another 64K window, right? We're talking about the token sizes and how big is the token window. It feels very familiar to me. What is quite interesting is the compression methods that are beginning to come about today, right? Cursor is really special because they have their specialized model for context compression, where the model is trying to guess what is important in this particular moment of this coding process or not. But it is still their special sauce. The contextual context management is one of the biggest parts of babysitting these models. And I do tend to think, and I would like to hear some yays or nays as we move into what is promising in the future and what is not based on some of these technologies. I do tend to think that bit of nuance is extremely frustrating for many of our developers who are still trying to get their heads around trying to use a tool or a set of tools that have been sold to CEOs as a replacement for them. Right? I think we can all agree if we have this level of experience, even the basic level of experience with these tools, they're not replacements. Certainly not today. Not for any developer. They do, you can manage the shit out of them and you can do some remarkable things, but they're not replacements. So the long question is that context rot problem? Has anyone seen that be has anyone seen that cause adoption failure in their development teams? I'd like to start to understand, for those of you is anyone having trouble rolling this out amongst their team? Is anybody having trouble having your developers adopt some of these tools and gain value from them? Hands. Thank you.
I mean, now that we've adopted it, everybody likes it, but it took us months, maybe 2 or 3 months to get everyone fully on board, and it was really, like when I first started using it, I was a non-believer. I hated it. I thought like this was, useless, and it makes me write code even more because I have to fix the mistakes, but after a couple months and after a couple new models came out, things got better and we got better using it, so it just takes time.
All right, so it takes time, anybody else hear the same? Has anyone else heard you just have to play with it?
Just got to use it every day.
Yeah. Is that a frustrating answer to anybody else? Right, it's super frustrating, but so far seems to be true. Has anyone developed some sort of an onboarding process? Yeah? All right, let's if you don't mind.
So like we're kind of new to using AI and
Okay.
like
name and organization,
oh,
please.
Carson Jones, FanDuel. So like we don't like I feel like there's like the possibility of like an over reliance on it, and like so like some people I feel like would use it to do like a whole feature, Whereas I feel like it's more useful for like small tasks and if you run into issues actually coding. So we don't know how to use it really. Like we're kind of the team that's starting with it.
Right.
And trying to come up with a process for how to use it throughout the organization.
Okay. We'll come back to over-reliance in a sec. Anyone else have any ideas on onboarding that can be helpful to other teams?
Hi, I'm Eric Schlichting from Farm Credit Services of America, but we recently rolled GitHub Copilot out, it was maybe like 12 months ago. And one of the things that's been useful is like as you're pair programming, if you can pair someone who uses the tool really well with someone who is maybe newer to the tool, and they can see in action, like maybe I'll write a quick comment and tell it what I want to do, hit enter, and boom, now I've got like 70% of the code I was going to write is now there. To like have them be part of solving a problem or completing a story that is actually using it, so they can see the value and how it makes them go faster. And even I think one of the big benefits is like all the test stuff. So I'm interested in your test stuff, asking it to do it, and if those tests are actually valuable. But because not a lot of developers love writing tests, some do, some try to skip it completely. But to be able to just ask an AI, hey, I wrote this new feature, scaffold out all these tests for me, and then you can go review it, and it can really cut down the amount of effort the developer has to put in and just make your job easier in general. So I think some of it is just illustrating to the skeptics, whether that's through pair programming or like showing or giving demos to your devs, that this can make your job easier, and it's not a replacement for you.
I'll offer a bit. One, absolutely, I think success breeds success, right? So if you have, it depends on the size of your organization, depends on your organization culture, where you have, let's say, a developer that people look up to or a team that people emulate. If you can win some successes for those teams, that will spread, right? Just like anything that your most popular developers tend to evangelize will spread. So success breeds success is a big one. Empathy, which is kind of clear from all of the head nodding. We are in a particular moment in the economic cycle where all of our developers are feeling some kind of way, right? There's both all of the talk of from, I shouldn't call anybody out exactly, but let's say a big online bookseller, from several of the bigger tech companies that are just talking about, hey, we're gonna replace you as quickly as we can. There's tons of layoffs in the industry. They are all being affected by that, and at the same time, here's this technology that should be incredible for them and for their jobs, but it's been sold to CEOs and folks like me as a replacement, right? So just having empathy for that context as we have those conversations it sounds soft skills and but I promise that is a huge deal. We all have feelings, right? Your engineers have feelings. Yes, sir.
I've got a few questions, but I'm going to stick to this one that's more relevant to what you just said. So I get what you're saying about like CEOs getting sold on, kind of this, kind of the same kind of thing with other stuff. But when NVIDIA CEO says that don't send your children to school to code anymore because they should learn other things, NVIDIA, the makers of the graphics cards, and also CUDA and all that stuff, that's a gut punch to a lot of people, I think, right?
Yes, it is.
So, how do you, and he should be in the know, so how do you react to that, or is there any sort of tempering or some sort of balance?
I can only give you my reaction, right? And again, while we are, as an organization, we are deep into this. We're not model builders. We're not at the frontier model building shops. One, people say shit that aligns with their values and with their financial motivations, right? We've had tech CEOs telling people to drop out of college for how many decades now? So that's one dude saying one thing. However, a very informed dude. And the challenge with all of this, and again, part of the empathy for the engineers, it's all moving fast. Again, I'm old. I've lived through a bunch of different cycles. This is fast. This is faster than anything I've ever seen. And I cannot see. I'm also a dad. So I like to pretend like I can see in the future a little bit to try and guide them. I never really could, but I felt like I could see a little bit into the future. 2 months at most is what I can see, relatively clearly. So that is not helpful, but it's my honest answer.
Sure.
All right, we're down to 5. So first, it is rare that we get to, especially as leadership, and again, if you're not leadership in the room, as developers too, it is rare that you get to kind of get together and share ideas across organizations, openly and honestly, get to hear that everybody else is having the same fucking problems, which is a big deal, right? Especially as you move up into leadership, we are isolated, right? You can't go tell your team, I don't really know how to solve this next week, because you're just stressing them the hell out. And so these opportunities are golden. Look around the room. If there were people who shared something that was interesting to you, I absolutely urge you to connect with them. DroidCon has turned into a beautiful, beautiful thing. And watching people level up in their careers is a wonderful. I had someone come up to me, several people come up to me to give me memories about DroidCon 1, and they have me crying, because I'm a sucker. I cry about everything. It's beautiful. But these are useful moments. I would continue these conversations, connect and continue these conversations. It's been a lot of useful learnings from this. The babysitting thing, regardless of where you are on the learning and adoption and choosing of tools curve, you do need to be aware that the context is everything. The context and the information that you're giving these tools are everything. So babysitting, in whatever form that's going to be, is going to be very important. Being careful with your security and deciding how much of your source code you want to share and with whom. You want to have some understanding of what their financial motivations are and what keeps them from using your data and keeping your data. Testing. I still think the idea of, we did the same thing with KMP. Find something that the iOS developers just hated writing and help them do that, right? Do something, not that every engineer hates testing, but just in case maybe they do, using AI to increase test coverage is both useful for the code base and might be an easy win to get more of your developers on board and let them see how this can be productive. Lots of great things shared here today. Thank you all very much for participating and for putting up with my bullying. Appreciate you all. Great job.